Dr. Jim Ewing here. This is your number one source for learning the latest on how to teach English language learners, or ELLs, in all subjects including math. If you Google math ELLs, you'll find that my name comes up on top. So if you're a pre-service teacher, a coach, or an administrator, subscribe to this channel so you can learn the latest. 80% of teachers say they need more training on how to teach ELLs. At last, this is that training. Let me help. That's right, mind shifts, not strategies. Have you ever read a book or been to a workshop and been really excited about teaching ELLs and using these strategies and found that they're kind of hard to implement? If so, let me teach you a secret. Those strategies are important, but we also have to have the right mindset. And so let's learn 3 mind shifts so those strategies will be more effective. In this video, we're going to talk about 3 mind shifts. We're going to make these mind shifts and learning the mind shift as easy as 1, 2, 3. So here goes. Let's have a drum roll. This is the first mind shift. Mind shift number 1. Let's call our students MLLs instead of ELLs. And you're probably like, that's all, Jim? Yes, that's all. Let's just change. Instead of calling our students ELLs, change that one letter and call our students MLLs, which stands for multilingual learners. Let me give you the why with an analogy. Are you right-handed or left-handed? Well, most of us will be right-handed, but what do you think it's like to live in a right-handed world and be left-handed? I ask that question to teachers in workshops, and they'll say things like, Jim, it's really hard for me to write in those stupid spiral notebooks. They're just not made for me because I'm left-handed. Or I have to be careful where I sit because I don't want to bump elbows with someone that's right-handed. So if you're left-handed, you already know what it's like to live in a right-handed world. But for the rest of us, let's do a little analogy and draw a picture so we can empathize with our left-handers and at the end of the day with our English language learners. That's right, I'm watching you. Let's all do this. We're going to draw a picture in the air with our left hand of a house. Now, I'm a professor, and if I can do this, because professors are supposed to be so serious, so if I can be silly for a second, so can you. My friend Eric Jensen calls me the almost crazy professor, and I think he's right. Anyway, let's go. Let's draw a picture in the air of a house with our left hands. Remember the roof. Let's draw the door and throw in a couple of windows. What was that like? Well, it was low risk, so it was probably all right, wasn't it? But what if we were to raise the stakes? What if we were to say, from now on, you can't use your right hand. If you use your right hand, you're punished. How would you feel then? How would you feel if we compared your work to the work of the left-handers? Now, if you're left-handed, you probably think that's a great idea. But if you're right-handed, you say, but wait a minute, Jim, you're not giving me credit for all that I know how to do with my right hand. You're just focusing on how I draw with my left hand. That's not fair. And you know what? You'd be right. We don't want to call you left-handed learners and just focus on how you draw with your left hand. It's the same thing with English language learners. They're more than learners of English. They know at least one language and they're learning another. Let's give them credit too. Let's call our students MLLs, which stands for multilingual learners. It's just a small shift, but it's really powerful. So if you make this change, that's huge. Now, let's take it a step further. Wouldn't it be great if in your school you were talking about MLLs instead of ELLs? So I invite you to share this video with others so your school and your district can call students MLLs instead of ELLs. The second mind shift. Let's be culturally responsive with our MLLs. That's right, MLLs, not ELLs. I've been into classrooms and I know we've got a lot on our plate. Teachers are so busy. I really honor you for that. But the litmus test to see if we're being culturally responsive with MLLs is ask ourselves, can our MLLs visualize themselves in our curriculum? And I'll go into classrooms and I'll have a discussion with teachers and I'll say, let's look at all the word problems you've been doing this year. And we'll look through and I'll say, okay, now show me one that's about an MLL. Or how about the books you're reading? Show them. Are any of the books you're reading to your students about an MLL character? And you know what? There aren't that many, so it'd be really hard to read. And that's why I wrote my own. It's called Juan Jose, You Are Especial. And we have to be careful with this stereotype, but the books that we're reading, we want our MLLs to visualize themselves in our curriculum. And so that is the litmus test. A strategy is to use visuals. That's important. But what are our MLLs visualizing? We want to be culturally responsive. The third mind shift is let's raise our expectations for MLLs. I'm not going to go into great depth here. If you want, you can watch some more of my videos. I talk about this. But if you've already made the other two mind shifts, then it'll be really easy to raise your expectations. Because the first mind shift was to call our students multilingual learners, or MLL. So when we're calling our students language experts, it makes sense for us to raise our expectations because they're language experts. The second mind shift was to be culturally responsive with MLLs. And if we're making if we're making an effort to be culturally responsive, then our students will be more engaged. So once again, we can raise our expectations. So we had 3 mind shifts that we talked about in this video. The first one, call our students MLLs. The second is be culturally responsive with the MLLs. And the third one is to raise expectations. Thank you so much for what you do. Have a great day. Hasta luego.